Mike and the Special Coaches. It was a very special day on the island of Sodor, and all the other engines were taking holiday makers around the beautiful sights of Sodor. But today was a special occasion for Connor. He had broken his record of pulling the express, and that was why the Fat Controller was giving him a reward. And these were his two special blue express coaches. The Fat Controller was going to present them to Connor to celebrate his record breaking of pulling the express. And that was why he sent Mike to go and fetch them. Mike was excited and couldn't wait to present them to Connor. One morning, Mike was taking on water at a siding when Frank arrived. "You look very happy," he said to Mike. Then Mike told Frank all about Connor's record. "Connor isn't the only one who's broke a record." But then Mike said, "I've not got time to listen to you," he said. "I better be off by the way." And he puffed away. This made Frank very cross and decided to get payback at Mike. Later, Mike steamed into the big station to the yards. When he arrived at the yards, he was shocked to realise that the new coaches he was going to bring Connor were gone. Just then, Edward puffed over to him. "What's wrong, Mike?" he asked. "You look worried." "Where are Connor's coaches?" he asked. "Frank took them. He told me the Fat Controller told him to fetch them for Connor." Mike was cross. "That stupid diesel," he said, and he puffed away crossly. Just then, Frank did have Connor's new coaches. He was waiting impatiently when he realised that Mike was coming. "What are you doing here?" asked Mike crossly. "The Fat Controller told me to bring those coaches to Connor," fibbed Frank. But Mike was not interested. "I've not got time to listen to you," he said. "Give me those coaches, now." "Not until you listen to me first," shouted Frank. The two argued, and then Frank decided to pay Mike out. And Mike decided to run after Frank. And then they raced around bends, and they puffed over bridges and under tunnels. And Frank knew all the tricks of a diesel, and it was getting late for the presentation, and it started to make Frank even more mischievous. Soon poor Mike began to feel very tired. He was exhausted after the chase and couldn't keep up with Frank any longer. When he arrived at the station, the Fat Controller was there. He was cross. Where are Connor's coaches?" he asked. "Frank took them, sir," said Mike. "Take me to Frank at once," said the Fat Controller. He climbed aboard Mike, and Mike puffed away. But in the meantime, Frank was having even more difficulties. He took the coaches away and was heading home because his engine was rattling and clonking. And before he knew it, he realised he was stopped by the Fat Controller and Mike. The Fat Controller was very cross. "Where are Connor's new coaches?" he asked. "I've put them in a siding outside the shed, sir," groaned Frank. "Take me to the siding at once," said the Fat Controller. "I have not got time for this," he said crossly. "Yes, sir," moaned Frank hastily. At last, Frank took Mike to the siding outside the sheds. He showed him where the coaches were, and then there was even more trouble. Help, groaned Frank. What's the matter? Snapped Mike. My engine's breaking, moaned Frank. Me? Why should I care about a dirty old diesel like you? said Mike. I tried to tell you something, said Frank, but you wouldn't listen to me. This time Mike did listen. Then why should I listen to you? He asked. Because Connor isn't the only one who broke a record. I broke a record of shunting the most trucks and coaches, complained Frank. Then Mike started to feel terrible. I'm sorry, Frank, said Mike, but congratulations. I had no idea you'd set a record of shunting, he said. You were right. I should have listened to you, he said. I'll get your surprise soon, he said. Wait here. And then Mike puffed away to take the coaches to the station and get something over and done with. Soon Mike arrived at the big station where the Fat Controller was waiting. You look worried, he asked kindly. Then Mike told him all about Frank and about his engine problem. Tell Frank to come here this evening, he said. I need you to take a surprise here for him at the docks, he said. Yes, sir, said Mike happily. At last, and before he knew it, Mike came back to the yard to tell Frank all about the good news, but didn't dare tell him about his secret surprise. And at last the presentation was finally reopened and Connor's new coaches were finally presented. Thank you, sir, said Connor. My new coaches look splendid. And not just that, said the Fat Controller. He heard an engine's whistle just then. There, puffing into the station was Mike shunting a delivery to the docks. On top of it was Frank's new diesel motor. Frank was surprised. Mike, he asked, what is that? That's your new diesel motor, in case you don't break down anymore, said Mike. Frank was happy. Thank you, Mike, he said, but then Mike took a deep breath. I'm sorry I didn't listen to you, Frank, he said. I had no idea you broke a record, but now I do. We diesels and engines will always break some records, said Frank, even if we are together. Friends, said Mike, and all the engines gave three cheers for Connor and 3 cheers for Frank and Mike.